Hello pizza lovers! I'm here today to show you how to modify a Bertello oven so that way it can have a temperature monitor, and here it's going to monitor the temperature of the stone. So for the first part of this modification, I've got a piece of scrap metal here that was an old compressor, and I'm going to modify it so that way I've got a block outline for the controller to fit into, and this part we mounted to the bottom of the oven. So that way we can see the display and be able to change it on the front of the oven. So that's our first part. So for this we got some safety glasses and a Dremel tool with a fresh metal cutting bit. And I'm going to go ahead and start cutting this thing out. So here we go. Alright, gonna see if we can dry fit the controller now. Well, a little on the wide side, but I think it'll be alright. So, just put the clips on here like so. Yeah, like that. Alright, that's how it's going to hold it. Pretty good little grip on it. It could have been a little more square, but it's not too bad. Okay, so now I have the mounting holes to mount it onto the oven. So fit up on there like so. Awesome, move right along. Okay, so now I'm going to let this dry for a bit, and I'll get back to the rest of my modifications later. So this is step number one, is my little bracket. So stay tuned. Hello pizza lovers, I'm here to show you how to modify this Bertello oven to be able to have a temperature monitor on it. So for this I've got to have a few supplies. Of course, first is a Bertello oven. I've got some clamps to be able to clamp my drill block onto the side of the oven, so that way I can get a nice square drill into it. I've got a center punch, a step drill, of course a pencil for marking stuff, a square, and I got my drill, of course. And let's see, and of course additionally I got the supplies that I need for this modification, which are the bracket that I've already made, and got the temperature controller as purchased on eBay, and I've got the temperature sensor. This gets pushed into the side of the oven, so that way it will sense the temperature at about 2 inches behind the stone. And of course I've got the wire and a connection to connect all this together. So here we go with stage one. Okay, so for stage one here we're going to have to take a few things off of the oven. So that way it's basically just the shell. So we'll take the pizza stone out. The official Bertello branding on there, which is pretty cool. We'll go ahead and take the burner off. Take that off too. Okay, got the burner. And just for kicks, we're going to go ahead and take out the firebox too. Alright, so now we just have the shell of the oven itself. Okay, so to do this, we're going to have to know the exact height of this standoff from the stainless steel here. So I've tested this and I've got a 13/32 bit. Now if you lay it up against there, this is exactly the same height as that standoff. Okay, so we got 13/32 on that standoff. So here, 13/32 is 0.40625. So we're going to divide that by 2 to get half of that, because that's where we want to be, is half of that standoff. So we got 0.203125 is our extra here. Okay, so now we take our caliper, which wasn't mentioned in our list, and we measure the thickness of this, and we see that that is 0.7. So that's exactly 0.7. So now we take that 0.7 and we're going to need to subtract the thickness of the sheet metal here, because this is from the referencing from the bottom of the steel, not the bottom of the sheet metal. So the sheet metal is 0.046 thick. So we clear, we take our 0.7 minus 0.046 equals 0.654. And remember, we have basically 0.4, so we'll go back to our history here. And 0.203 is what we want to add to that, 0.203125. So we say plus 0.2033125 equals. So our distance from the bottom of the plate here to the center of that standoff is going to be 0.857 inches. So that should put us right in the exact center of that standoff. Alright, so now we're going to go and set our caliper up to 857. Alright, I'm going to clamp it down here so that way it won't move. And so this here is exactly our distance that we want to be from the bottom of the oven up to the pencil mark, up to the center of our thermocouple. Alright, well, I'm here to finish this modification. I've got a piece of cardboard to put the oven on so that way it doesn't get scratched by my bench here. So I'm going to go ahead and I guess we'll go ahead and put this down, put the oven on its side. On the side cardboard, and fold the legs in now. This is the wrong side, isn't it? Or is it? This is the wrong side. To be on this side. All right, so we want the thermocouple to be on the right side, which is where the propane comes out, so that way we can have it all consistent. Let's see. Go ahead and move this baby over here to the side. Alright. Okay, so now we've got our 0.8-ish mils here, or inches I mean. So I'm going to go ahead and set this square up to be the same size as what we measured on our calipers a second ago. Okay. That should be to our middle of our standoff. I'll visually check it here real quick. And Looks pretty darn good. Alright. So let's go ahead and mark this out. So I'm going to want this to be about 2 inches from the back of the stone. So I'm not going to mark it all the way across. I'm just going to mark it a little bit right here. Careful of the screws on the bottom, they'll screw up your alignment. Alright, so now we've got a line, it should be the center line, where we need to drill, where sit between the standoff. Now the reason why I made this so long was because this little drill block here has reference marks on the end of it and also on the center. So that way you can get it exactly square with respect to your hole. So I'm going to go ahead and do these the same way. Alright. So now we need to know where to put the line on the other side. So we need to know where to put our crosshatch here. So to do that, we're going to take the measurement of the pizza stone and we're going to subtract 2 inches from it, from here, so that way it'll be 2 inches from the end of the pizza stone. So to do that, just to make sure I've got it right, I'm going to take this this piece out, pop it back in there real quick. Because that's the reference part for this pizza stone. Keep it in there. Yes, it is. Alright, let's get our stone. Okay. Alright, so now our stone is reinstalled. I'm going to measure from the back of the stone up to the front of the oven, and that is exactly 14 inches. So we're going to put it at 12 from the front of the oven. So for 12 inches from here, minus 14 minus 2 is 12. So that's where it's going to be. Alright, so oops, take our stone back out now. Thought it felt a little heavy. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and mark this at 12. And take our square. Alright. X marks the spot. So you see there, we've got both of our lines marked, so we're about ready to begin drilling. Okay, now one thing that I wanted to do here is I want to start out with a smaller drill, so I want to go ahead and use the 1/8 inch first, in case there's a bunch of foam insulation in here, whatever, that might get caught up in my drill bit. I don't want to get wrapped up on my drill bit. So I want to start out smaller. My temperature probe is 3/16 in diameter, so I'm going to start with an 1/8 inch first, then go to 3/16. Once I do that, then the thermocouple will go all the way through. Then I'll go ahead and step it up to my 9/32, which is the size of the inner diameter of my silicone grommet. So here we go. Let's go ahead and get this thing clamped down. Alright, those little orientation marks are pretty cool. Okay, well, I think I've got it clamped down. So let's go ahead and get our 1/8 inch a little bit. Alright, looks pretty good so far. And we didn't come up with a bunch of insulation around around my drill bit. So you see it's all a bunch of fibrous insulation, so that tells us a little more solid in there. you can see we got right on the center of that thing. If you can see that there, I'm going to pick it up just a little bit. So you can see we got right on the center of that. That's pretty good. It's really tight. I'm going to remove it just a little tiny bit. Here we go. Alright, Alex. Looks pretty good. Let me see if you can see that. Yeah, good. Alright, so now we're going in. Oh boy. Okay. Well, hopefully it'll be more straight as I get it. Alright, well here's step number one. We got the thermocouple through the wall of the oven. So now I've got this step drill for marked at 9:30 seconds, so that way I can know when to stop when it's at 7 millimeters pretty much. Alright. There we have it. So I got 10 of these grommets in case they melt. Ordered from China for like $3. Cool. There we go. Nice little grommet on the side. Cool. Alright, and there you can see where the thermocouple is poking through the side of the oven. And you can see where it is just riding above the surface of the oven, which is perfect, exactly what we want. So far, so good. Alright, so now I've got our thermocouple installed. I need to get this thing ready for its little temperature sensor. I've got my screws here. Okay. That's actually pretty easy to judge because I've got two screws right here, and I've got, here, let me take this camera off real quick. See, I've got two screws right there, and it fits right between the legs, so that looks like a great place for it to be, for this little thing to live. Alright, so there we go, there's the front of the oven, so we recessed just a little bit, so it looks good. Okay, here we are again. I've got the braided cable, the thermocouple cable cut to 2 feet length, and I got a little piece of heat shrink on the center of it here to cover up the end where it goes into the temperature controller. And here is the end that goes into the connector that goes to the thermocouple on the oven. So on here, something to note, and I believe this is correct in this case too, is that on thermocouples, typically the red wire is your negative. So I'm going to hook this up. So dang it, these mosquitoes are pretty bad right now. I'm going to hook this up so that way the black is the plus and the red is the minus. Let's see if I can get this braid a little more up inside of this side. And normally there's an O-ring on this thing. I forgot about that. Alright, that's how we have it hooked up so far. Let me bring this over there so you can see it. Yeah, I'm up in the mountains at 9,000 feet. We don't normally get mosquitoes like this, so I'm kind of surprised that they're as aggressive as they are right now. Okay, so now I got this side connected. It's going to go into the oven. You got this over here. It's going to go into the controller. Got my little bit of heat shrink. I'm going to go ahead and just put it over here, clean up this mess a little bit. So we got red on number 3 and black on number 4. Alright, and there you have it. Here's the controller with the pigtail on it. This little cover goes back over here like so. Cool. Alright, so now I just need to hook up the power to it. Now that we got all the pieces, we can go ahead and put the oven back together, and this will be the last thing we put in once we get the power hookup. And well, let's get the power hookup really. Once we figure out how to get power into this thing, and with a little connector or whatever, inline connector. So there you have it. We're done for the moment, and I'm going to go ahead and put the oven back together, leaving this part out, and I'll put it back in at a later part in this video. Okay, now that we got the preliminary modifications done to the oven, we added the thermocouple with the grommet and everything installed here, and it's sitting inside like it's supposed to. And so now let's go ahead and get the firebox reinstalled, and we'll get the stone reinstalled. And then since we've got the plate up here to interface to the temperature monitor for now, controller for the next video, and since we got all that done, we'll go ahead and put the oven back together, and then we're ready for the next section of the modification, which will be installing this controller. So since we have the thermocouple installed there now, we're going to have to lift this up and over the thermocouple as we install the firebox. So we'll have to use both hands for that. Put the last of the accessories back on for the moment. And put the cover back on. also. So without latching this into place, this is what it's going to look like. So we got the temperature controller over here. It's hooked up wire. This shoe wire coming over here to the controller, and remote controller. Actually, this is a monitor at the moment. And we just gotta run 12 volts over to it, and we'll be able to see what temperature is. Okay, so today I'm going to install the controller and hook up the thermocouple and everything. So I'm ready for prime time. Today's pizza day. So on here, I decided to go with a little mini fit Molex connector on the controller itself, so that way I can use either a plug adapter, which will plug right into it now, or I can use these little jumper cables and it'll also plug into it, so I can use a battery or an extension cord depending on what I have available. But I can cook in this thing out in the sticks now with a battery and still be able to use my controller. So let's go ahead and get this thing installed real quick. I'm going to take this back cover off just because it kind of gets in the way of these little clips. Alright, there you have it. Everything's hooked up and ready to go. I just got to plug the power supply in.